Education in early Texas differed greatly from what we have come to expect in the 21st century, but the steps taken more than 100 years ago laid the groundwork for how Texans receive an education today. Pioneers of the Texas frontier had only a dim concept of what an education actually entailed. According to E.V. White, an early teacher in Taylor and Jones County,
they were pretty well agreed that the purposes of education is to qualify one to fill a useful position in a work that limits one's presence to a maximum amount of shade and a minimum amount of sunshine.
When the earliest settlers came to this part of Texas, most schools were private or subscription schools. Within a few years, though, the state became heavily involved in public education and began to set standards for schools and educators as publicly supported free schools began to compete with subscription campuses. Teachers, paid between $40 and $50 per month, conducted classes for about 5 months a year. To fund this educational initiative, the state paid schools from $1 to $3 from the public treasury per student between the ages of 8 and 16. Finding these funds to be inadequate for a decent education, local communities also began levying taxes on property to increase school revenue sources, but the state mandated that counties could go no higher than the assessing of a maximum of 20 cents per $100 in property value. Before long, tax-supported schools all but replaced private schools, and Texas society began to travel the long road toward universal free education with centralized funding and control. As towns grew or rural areas became settled, county commissioners' courts organized school districts after being petitioned by local communities. This haphazard approach resulted in a patchwork quilt of various and often competing school districts on the Texas frontier, with many overlapping jurisdictions leading to a legacy of administrative headaches. A county judge was the ex officio superintendent of schools, but as his span of management increased, individual communities tended to act independently and autonomously from county dictates, further complicating matters. Even with this imperfect system, universal public education had come to the Texas frontier to stay, and students hit the books, dreaming of a day when, filled with book smarts, they could pursue a job where they could wear a nice starched suit in a cool office, rather than wearing dirty overalls in Daddy's cotton field.